Hi, and welcome to another presentation from your business tutor, learning your way, anytime, anywhere. In the first part of this presentation, we looked at the objectives of private sector organisations. In this one, we will turn to look at the objectives of organisations in the other two sectors of the economy, the public sector and the third sector. So what are we going to learn today? Well, first of all, we're going to find out what objectives public sector and third sector organisations choose. After that, we're going to find out why public sector and third sector organisations choose those objectives. You remember from the first part of this topic that we stated an objective was a major target that a business wants to achieve. And then we went on to look at the objectives of private sector organisations. Well, now we want to turn to the objectives of public sector organisations, such as the NHS, police and army. In other words, the objectives of organisations owned by the government. So what objectives do public sector organisations have? Well, you remember from our presentation on public sector organisations that merit goods such as health, education and security wouldn't be provided either in enough quantity or in the right places if only delivered by the private sector. Put simply, those people who couldn't afford these essential services or those living in remote rural areas wouldn't be able to access them. This is why public sector organisations often have the following two closely linked objectives, and they are to provide essential services to society and to make sure everyone can access those services. These objectives are important because essential services such as health and education benefit society and help to give opportunity to those who are disadvantaged. If the private sector aren't going to provide enough of these essential services, then it is vital that the public sector does. So what other objectives do public sector organisations have? Well, just like private sector organisations, they also want to provide excellent customer service. This is not just so taxpayers get value for money. Remember, public services are financed through taxation. But because organisations in this sector are delivering vital services such as health, education and security, as a consequence, it is important that they provide excellent service so that society and the nation benefits. But it is also important they provide excellent service, as this is how the government and the general public will judge their organisation and what it does. For example, if the number of serious crimes is falling, the government and the general public will feel that the police are doing a good job and providing an excellent service. A final objective many public sector organisations have, which is similar to those in the private sector, is to provide an efficient service, or put more coldly, to cut costs. This is a particularly important objective because public sector organisations only have access to limited funds. As we know, public sector organisations are funded through taxation, and as such the NHS, police and education can only operate with the money they receive from the government. This means if they want to make the money they receive go further, they will have to look for ways to cut costs or improve efficiency. In fact, since the financial crisis between 2007 and 2009, every single public sector organisation has had to cut costs and improve efficiency, as they've been asked to do more and more, but with fewer and fewer resources. So now we've looked at public sector objectives. Let's turn to our final question and look at the objectives of third sector organisations. By far the most popular objective in the third sector is to help the disadvantaged or socially excluded. The core purpose of many charities and social enterprises is to help those people in greatest need and to help those people who have fallen through the gaps in the welfare system. so that the gap between those that have and those that do not is reduced. This is often referred to as closing the poverty gap. And this is really important because what it is saying is that whatever your background or circumstances, you will have opportunity to succeed in life. Being from a poor or disadvantaged background should not prevent people from being able to improve their lives. This is why charities and social enterprises work so hard to reduce and eliminate the poverty opportunity gap. However, as well as helping people, third sector organisations often have objectives relating to protecting the environment. This is because over the last 50 years, the world has seen significant climate change. Many parts of our world are seeing major changes which, if not stopped, could cause irreversible damage. As such, many third sector organisations will have objectives such as protecting the rainforests, protecting endangered species, and reducing water pollution. So let's turn to our final objective that third sector organisations may choose. And that is to increase their funding. In the case of charities, this may be to increase donations. And in the case of social enterprises, it might be to increase profits. Whereas in the case of a club, it might be to increase their membership. Increasing funding is so important because this is how third sector organisations finance their activities. Without money from public donations and government grants, third sector organisations will not be able to undertake the essential work they do to support the most disadvantaged in our society and protect the environment. Hopefully this presentation has shown the importance of an organisation having objectives. Objectives are the driving force behind any organisation. They give it focus. They influence all decision making because every decision should be made with the aim of trying to achieve an organisation's objectives. However, we also have to be aware that sometimes managers make decisions to benefit their own self-interest rather than the interests of the organisation. For example, a manager may try to increase the size of their own department so that they have more power, even though an organisation may be trying to cut costs or improve efficiency. When this happens, we can say that managerial objectives are overriding those of the organisation. This is why it is important that an organisation is aware of this issue and puts in place measures to ensure managerial objectives are in line with the objectives of the organisation. If not, the organisation may find that what it is trying to achieve is undermined. So what did we learn in today's presentation? Well, first of all, we found out what objectives public sector and third sector organisations choose. And after that, we explored the reasons why public sector and third sector organisations choose those objectives. There is no doubt that objectives are vital to a business. And if a business achieves its objectives, it will have accomplished what it set out to do. And surely in business, that's what it's all about.